So this is New Zealand Story Revolution for the Nintendo DS. This isn't going to be a review on the game because I've not played enough of the game to be able to do a review of it, and I don't want to play enough of the game to be able to do a review of it because I'm not really that into the game, to be honest. I did used to have the original New Zealand Story on the Atari ST back in the day, in the early 90s, and I did really enjoy the game back then, but now this game, it doesn't really seem any worse than the original. But there is one thing in the game that I do find annoying, and I'll talk about that later. But to be honest, I just don't really think it's my kind of game anymore, really. So, I mean, apart from the that one bad thing, it does seem like a decent game. It does seem like it's well made. But yeah, like I said, it's just doesn't really seem like my kind of thing anymore. So there's the back of it there. And there's the cartridge and manual. Let's see if there's anything that interesting in the manual. So yeah, the character that you control, he has a lot of special techniques this time around. He has more special techniques than what he did have in the original version. There's all sorts of weapons. You did get all sorts of weapons in the original version, and also different kinds of transport as well. You know, you've got a charge shot, you can swim. You could swim in the original version, I'm sure. So you got different vehicles and stuff. Some vehicles you just kind of go along the floor in, and other vehicles you basically just kind of fly through the air with. And so like the touch screen, the bottom touch screen, that's incorporated into the game as well. So there's some of the mini games that you do on the touch screen, and looks like that's it. So all the other pages are just in a different language. So yeah, let's take a look at New Zealand Story Revolution on the Nintendo DS. So the last time I played the original on the Atari ST was back in the early 90s. So if I was to play it now, I don't know if I would still enjoy it or not. I think maybe I would still enjoy it, but for some reason I don't really enjoy this game on the Nintendo DS. I think it might be because everything just looks so small on the small handheld screen. Maybe that's something to do with it. And yeah, a lot of the game it just kind of feels awkward and difficult. So you spend a lot of the time in this game floating through the air, and that's where things can get very difficult and awkward, at least for me anyway, because while you're floating through the air, you're having to try and like avoid spikes and stuff. You know, there could be some spikes above you, and then you've got enemies floating about as well, trying to shoot at you, and all the while you're trying to kind of stay buoyant. You're trying to keep that balance, because if you just keep your finger on the button, your character will just keep rising up higher and higher and higher, and so it could rise up into the path of some oncoming bullets or whatever, or it might kind of rise up and hit some spikes at the top. But if you let go of the button, it will start sinking downwards, and there could be enemies below shooting at you or whatever. So all the time you're trying to kind of keep this balance, you're trying to kind of make him remain buoyant, and you've got all these spikes around you, and you've got enemies around you floating around shooting at you, and it just all kind of feels quite difficult and awkward, really. I'm pretty sure the original on the Atari ST was like that as well. It may have not been as bad, I can't really remember, but yeah, I don't know, the game just doesn't really do much for me, to be honest. So I'll talk about the part of the game which I think is just really, really bad. It's where you use the touch screen. So there's different mini games throughout the game where you use the touch screen, and one of the mini games is called Touch the Difference. And what you need to do is you need to look at the bottom screen, and you need to spot something on the bottom screen which isn't in the top screen, and then you need to touch it with your stylus. Now this is just really difficult and awkward, because at the same time it's like you have to keep kind of switching your focus from screen to screen. You know, looking at the bottom screen, seeing if you can spot anything which isn't in the top screen, then you need to kind of look at the top screen to see if it's there or not. and you, at the same time you're trying to fight off enemies. You've got enemies like shooting at you, and then once you spot the thing on the screen, you've got to try and like quickly tap on it with the stylus, and you're trying to like kind of fend off enemies at the same time, and it's very awkward and very difficult. It's like the best way I've found of being able to do it is to have the stylus in my right hand while I'm pressing the buttons with my right hand, and that's kind of awkward enough when you've got the DS on the table, which I do in this video. But if you're actually holding the DS with both hands, which is how I usually use it, then it's going to be even more difficult to try and kind of, when you're holding it in both hands, it's going to be even more difficult for you to be pressing buttons with your right hand and holding the stylus with your right hand at the same time. So it's really awkward, and it's like, I don't understand how anyone could have thought it would be a good idea to have that in the game. But yeah, so that's New Zealand story, Revolution on the Nintendo DS. I wouldn't say it's a bad game at all, you know. I'm just not really that into it. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching.